Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about TTRPGs. First up for TTRPG for the last day of this week, we have, once again, the Dead People Tea mug with Caduceus Clay on it. Great little mug. Love it. Shockingly, this is still warm after shooting all of these. And inside of it, still, we have the Iron Goddess of Mercy Oolong Tea. Once again, great little tea, especially if you like oolong. Definitely recommend checking out the Spice and Tea Exchange. They've got a lot of really great stuff. But that is not what you're here today to talk about. What we're here today to do is to wrap up on Ink. We are going to go ahead and we are going to run through the rest of this here, and we are going to take a little look-see at some of the final things, the miscellaneous things, the things that didn't quite fit in other places, or I missed when I was going through the first time. So let's go ahead, let's crack this open. I believe I have four different things to really hit on here. So let's go ahead, let's start at the top. First things first, we're going to talk about karma. There is a mechanic in Ink called karma. Karma is basically something that you have or do not have. Well, I guess technically you have it all the time. It is either just positive or negative. Karma is something that is going to be either beneficial or detrimental to you, obviously. Generally speaking, players and everything has good karma going for it. However, there are things that can happen to it to flip the karma to bad. Now, you might be saying, what does karma actually do? Great question. So glad you asked. Karma, if you are making a skill check as your spirit, karma is going to add 1 or subtract 1 to your score. If you have good karma, it's going to add 1. If you have bad karma, it is going to subtract 1. If you are in your shadow form, there we go, and you are making an attack, you are also going to roll a karma die as an additional d6. Good karma, add the d6 to your attack roll. Bad karma, subtract the d6 from your attack roll. So karma can have very big swings for you in the game. So it is important to actually keep track of your karma. Make sure that you know what is going on with it at all times. One of the actions that players can take in a given round of combat, other than things like attack and move and all of that, is karma, or not karma, hex. Hex flips an enemy's karma from positive to negative. So that is definitely going to be something that is good to do from early on. Karma sort of neutralizes itself. There are a couple of different things that can happen with it to sort of get it to oscillate back to good as you go through, but karma is a random little thing that is super important to the game as you go through it, because you definitely want to have good karma as you're going through the game here, right? So make sure that you keep track of your karma. They recommend using a different colored die if you are going to be like rolling it for your shadow. And they also recommend keeping track of it with a two-sided token of some sort. One side is going to be positive, one side is going to be negative, so you can just flip it over, and you don't have to actively remember what it is you have every single time you look down to do something. That's karma. Next up, elixir shops. That is actually something that I probably should have talked about on Tuesday, but here we are. So the actual like tagline of the game is a coffee-fueled roguelite TTRPG, because the elixir shops are so vital to what is going on. Again, look at the pretty art. Love the art. Between chapters, they have elixir shop spotlights. They're basically little coffee shops. They each have their own barista, which is a little ghost that serves you whatever is in there. They have a name for it. They've got specialties that are in it, bonuses, and fun facts about it. But basically, elixir shops are going to be things that you run into and you will be interacting with a lot throughout the game, because they are basically your temporary power-ups for your characters. So what do elixirs do? They give you different buffs. They give you different things. Elixirs are something that are super, super important for actually being able to survive and make it through this game. So you want to be able to have as many of them as possible. How do you get elixirs? Either you find them, or you purchase them from a shop like this, wherein you get you spend money to get them. The currency in this game is just coins, because it takes place kind of simultaneously in the past, present, and future. It's any type of round circular thing that could be shaped like a coin. You spend those on elixirs. You do not retain the coins when you die. They fall to the ground where you die. And you lose all the effects of the elixirs that are active on you when you die. So when you go down and get shipped off back to a beacon, you lose all of your active elixir effects. Important to remember. But elixirs are the kind of thing that will change the game for you. You're a ghost, so you can just kind of have as many of them as you want. They are all made up of the ink, which is really kind of cool. So it is something that actually sort of like roots itself in the world. However, important to note here, you can't just drink the ink. There is a section in here about ink poisoning. If you drink unrefined ink, you automatically get hit with some really bad stuff pretty immediately. Let's see here. Let me flip to it. This stuff is not going to be good for you. Things like taking 2d6 damage instantly, permanently losing 1d6 defense, losing 2 powers of your choice, like, it's not good. And then your karma automatically flips to negative immediately. And they only go away when you reawaken at a beacon. So, like, don't drink ink if you can help it. But that is why the elixir shops exist. And then in the back of the book here, they have a full slate of really fantastic artwork, where there are different baristas, different little like ghosty images for you to look at. They're really phenomenal, and I love them a lot. I've spent a lot of time looking at them. They're great. So those are your elixir shops. Healing. Thus far, we have only talked about healing up when you reach beacons. There is one other way to heal. It is important that we are all aware of this, because the way it sounds right now is if you go down, you are screwed entirely, which is not necessarily entirely true. Because the way that you can heal is something called lay on hands, which, if you are familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, you might know exactly what lay on hands basically means. If your stamina is reduced to 0, you fall unconscious basically, and you stay there, and you don't do much of anything. As soon as you regain 1 stamina, you regain consciousness. Outside of combat, a spirit may lay hands on a helpless spirit. It removes status effects from that character, and if this character's at 0, it heals the character by 1 stamina. Laying hands takes 5 minutes to actually do, but status doesn't continue during that time. If no one is around to lay hands on you, you fully dissipate. You go back off to the beacon. You only ever level up if you get shipped off back to a beacon. That's kind of an important piece there. So you can like heal up if you go down by just having a buddy around who survives the combat, essentially is what it comes down to. So you're not screwed every time you go down, but basically they have it set up in such a way so that if everybody that is around you goes down, everybody ships back to the beacon. So it kind of works out that everybody is leveling up at the same time, because everybody is going to be healing each other unless everybody is down. So healing in this game, a little, kind of weird, but again, if you go down, you only end up with 1 stamina back, and so you are kind of strapped and not doing great until you find an elixir shop where you can get some healing, or you get to a beacon where you can heal yourself all the way up. Finally, we come to seafaring. Again, one of those things that feels like I should have talked about it already, but it is such a weird part of this that it just sort of like, it's so integral to the actual setting that it hasn't really come up thus far in what we've talked about. You are on a boat basically the whole time. Not the whole time in this game. A lot of the time. Because you are traveling between different islands, because the ink, which is what is all around you, is what is actually like making up the fabric of the world around you. And the islands are random little outcroppings that you arrive at an adventure on. You can basically, they have rules in here and tables in here for just like seafaring, going exploring on the out on the ink. In addition to having boat upgrades that you can make, as you can pay for them with coins. God, I said that so weird. You can pay for them with coins when you find somebody that has the ability to actually upgrade your ship. Things like stamina up, harpoons, telescopes, water jets, hellfire devices, all that sort of thing. When you find docks with workers that can actually upgrade it, you are able to go ahead and buy upgrades for your ship, which is great because when you are passing between keys, which are those islands, you are going to be rolling for encounters. Direct passage between keys takes 1 roll, and passage sort of off of the direct path to those is going to be taking a roll every hour, with the understanding that basically the direct paths have like been cleared out for the most part so that people can ferry themselves back and forth. You're not always going to run into something, but when you do, it gets nasty fast. The only difference between normal combat and combat on a boat is that your boat has stats as well, and it has the ability to take different actions as you go forward. So that is really everything with seafaring. There's a bunch of like more specific stuff in the actual book, but it's not something that I'm going to be able to like run through for you real fast on here, more than what I just did. The only other thing that I can think of offhand that I really should have talked about yesterday, but I neglected to, is in combat, when you guys are beginning combat, the GM will say, all right, we're at the start of the round. Everybody will privately decide on the action that they want to be taking. This, I don't have them, but you have the ability to purchase action cards with this, in which case people would play their action cards face down until everybody has done so. Then they all flip at the same time and everything resolves simultaneously. Or you have the ability to like just write it down or go 3, 2, 1. Everybody announces what they're doing, that kind of thing. Because your shadows can't talk to each other, so there's no strategizing across the table. I did mention that already. I know that. But it's a really sort of interesting way to do it because there aren't turns necessarily. You just kind of happen. Everything happens all at once. And it makes sense because the game is a little bit less crunchy than like 5th edition or Pathfinder or anything like that is. For it to just kind of be that way because it's a little bit flowier, a little bit looser. But it is one that I would really like to try out at some point because it feels like one that you might need to sort of initiative down a little bit. But who knows? Maybe you don't need to. But those are the random things that I thought of that we did not really cover so far in Ink. Again, this is a really cool game. It's got a really cool concept behind it, at least, and the art in it, as you can tell from the cover and everything I just showed you, is absolutely gorgeous. I highly recommend checking this out because it's a really, really cool indie game. Again, Snowbright Studios, they did a great job. It is brand new, just came out. Pick up a copy of it. It's really interesting. And it's, again, it can be not super mechanical. It can be super mechanical. Kind of up to how you want to run it. It is simple enough to where I think that like kids could learn how to play it if that is something you're interested in, particularly because of how fluid like the whole like spirit thing is. They can just kind of change the way their character looks when they decide they want to change stuff up about them. So definitely check it out. It's a really cool game. Yeah, that's everything I have for you guys. That brings us to the end of Ink. Really, really great game. I hope that I have inspired at least one of you to go out and check it out. But that is everything I have for you guys today and this week. So thank you guys so very much for making me a part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my subscribers. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you're interested in supporting the show directly, the best way to do it is by subscribing either on YouTube or on podcasting platforms. Thank you guys so much again for all the support. We hit 400 subscribers on YouTube earlier this week, or I guess over the weekend. And that is a major milestone. It's incredible. Thank you so very much. So very much. But that is everything I have for you guys today. So with all that said, don't forget everybody, drink tea, play TTRPGs, and keep on rolling.